Hello everyone. Welcome to the series on digital media. In this series, we'll be talking about digital media. We'll be talking about, how to navigate new media landscape. Since this is the first program in this particular series, so I'll just give you an overview of, what we'll be talking about in this particular series. So in this series on digital media, we'll try and explore various aspects of digital media, and we'll try and find out how digital media and new emerging technologies, they are affecting various functions of communication. We'll try and find out the impact of digital media in the field of journalism, how it is affecting the newsrooms. We'll talk about how digital media is affecting advertising, public relations, corporate communication, and in total we'll be talking about all aspects of communication and how these emerging technologies, they are affecting different types of communication and different professions which are there in this particular field. So in this session, the agenda for this particular session would be first trying to find out about the terminology. So there are a lot of terminology which is being used to explain this medium which we are talking about, something which is based on new technologies. Say for example, you have a term which is called new media. There's another term which is called digital media. There's another term which is called online media. We also use convergent media a lot. So first thing is that we'll try and find out the meaning of all these terms, what is the importance of these terms, and which term we can use to explain the kind of medium which we are talking about. After that, we'll be talking about power of new media, and I'll show you certain examples which will explain the power of new media, what it can do. And then we'll be talking about digital consumers, and then we'll talk about major trends in digital media. So this is what I have in mind today, and these are the points which we are going to cover. So let's start about the terminology. We use digital media a lot. And when we're talking about digital media, the one thing that comes to our mind is something which is not analogous, which means, earlier we used to talk about medium, which was analog, but now we are talking about digital. So what makes any medium a digital medium? So in this case, all information or data in digital media is coded in numbers, which means like binary code of 0 and 1. So which means all information, whether it's your name, any alphabet, everything is converted into 0 and 1, and the 0 and 1 is like, of course, like on and off. So this is what the digital media is. When you're talking about digital, of course, like we always talk about the analog, which used to be there. So in this code, analog media encode and store information in physical objects. Sound, text, and images elicit analogous responses in vinyl, paper, film, and this is used to happen earlier. So this is something which we used to see very often. When we grew up with these technologies. There used to be cassettes, there used to be film roll, something which is not there anymore, and the younger generation might not have seen all these devices. And this shows the relationship which is in direct correspondence of encoded information and physical objects. Now, there are 4 outcomes of digital media according to Lister, and the first and the foremost is that the media text become delinked from a particular media, which means like in today's time when we are talking about any medium or any content, any message that has been created in any of the format. For example, it could be image, it could be audio, it could be video, but you can always delink this with the medium which is creating this particular content. This was not the case earlier, which means like if you had a tape recorder or you have the cassette, so you have to play that particular song through that cassette only. You can there was no provision to take it away from that particular device. But nowadays you can take media text anywhere, which means say for example you have created a text. Now you can take that text, I mean, it is there on, you know, computer, you can take that text to, you know, mobile device. So you can delink, you know, that media text from a particular media. And this actually leads to convergence, which means like whatever the content is being created, I mean, it can be consumed on, you know, number of, you know, platforms. So that is something which is possible in today's time. Second is information can be processed and fit into small spaces. Um, there used to be a time, I mean, we have seen libraries wherein, you know, the films and wherein the cassettes were kept. We always required, you know, large spaces to store that particular content. But nowadays, as you know, as you have witnessed, that the information can be processed and fit into very small spaces. You know, you have USB drive, you have, your hard disk, and, you know, a lot of information can fit into that particular space. So you do not require, you know, a lot of spaces to store your data. So that's the possibility with the digital media, which was not there earlier. Another thing is the access of data can be very fast, and it does not have to be in a linear form. So access of data, which means, like, you know, you have a digital library, there are thousands and lakhs of books available, and if you have to access any book, I mean, you do not have to, you know, spend a lot of time to, you know, find the right kind of book for you. So alphabetically or book wise, I mean, you can search that particular book. Even if you want to search a one particular page or, you know, some sort of content, you know, that also becomes very easy. So it is not, you know, stored in a linear form. You know, by typing a keyword, by typing a one particular word alphabet, you are able to search that content. So the access of data has also become very, very fast, which was not there earlier. And you might have seen, you know, if you go to a library, it takes a lot of time to search for the kind of book you're looking for. But this doesn't happen, you know, when you start searching for something online. And then the last point is, when we are talking about digital media, data can be manipulated in the ways unimaginable in the analog media age. So which means, as compared to analog age, which means that nowadays, if the data is there in the digital format, you can manipulate it the way you want to. For example, you know, if you have to change or tweak one particular image, or if you have to make certain changes to a video, you can do it very easily with, you know, a lot of tools which are available and which you have access to. So these are the four outcomes of, you know, digital media, what this has made possible. But when you're talking about digital media, how does this term fare when it comes to understanding the media? So with its emphasis on the mode of encoding and converting data and information, the term digital media seems to focus primarily on the technological element of the media. As I said before, here the information is stored in binary code, which means that the technology which make this particular thing possible. So the emphasis is more on the technological element of the media when we are talking about digital media, how the information is encoded, how the information is converted into a data and into information. So the main focus in this particular term is on the technological element of it. Then the second thing is, to talk of digital media, therefore, appears to prioritize aspects that relate to the technology that made them possible. So the technology what we are talking about. The third is, while the technology element, without doubt, it's important, you know, because that is something which is making it possible, but we have to ask whether it is defining characteristic of these media. So is it just the technology that has made this particular medium which we are talking about, or there's other things also? So in this whole term or the terminology which we are using, this actually overlooks the ways in which users shape them, or the broader social, cultural and economic environment which produce them in the first place. So this is something which gets overlooked when we use the term digital media. Now coming on to another term which is being used very widely, and that is called online media. Now this is direct reference to the internet. The term online, as we all know in this media, prioritizes the element of connectivity. So we are saying that, a medium which allows us, this connectivity feature through which, we are connected with the people across the world. Although the ways in which they connect with other media, mainly computers, but also more recently mobile telephones also. So connectivity is certainly a crucial attribute of the media, but such connection to distant others were already possible with the telegraph and later the telephone. So if we are saying that the connectivity is the major feature, this was also available earlier when we were talking about telephone, when we were talking about telegraph. People were connected to each other. So is this the only feature that defines this particular medium? So that is something which we have to talk about, and we also have to discuss, and we also have to think when we are explaining online media, or when we are talking about online media. So what is that quality and degree of connection we are talking about? So in online media, mainly the focus is on the connectivity. So online media, we know that it captures another important dimension, but it needs to be thought alongside others. So it's not just the connectivity, there are other things also, when we are talking about the media, the new medium which we are talking about. Now coming on to the third term, which is called new media. There are a lot of people who are, talking about this particular term. There are a lot of debates, there are a lot of discussions. There have always been a discussion whether we should be calling a new media because here you're talking about something new. So there are a lot of people who say that when the print came, when television came, so at that point of time there were new medium. So is it right to call any medium a new medium? So Marshall contested this newness of new media, and in his analysis of new media, one of the interesting points that emerged was delineated nature of the media in its older form. Printed forms, images and sounds were totally different categories. But in new media, for instance, the internet and web now constitute all these media forms. So see, when we used to read newspaper, right, it used to be just newspaper, or when we were listening to radio, it was just radio. When we were watching television, it was just television. Now, what Marshall is saying that in this, even if you're, say for example, reading a print or text, nowadays, that is something which is possible on, internet or any website. But with the text, you can always find an audio, you can also find a video. So that is something which is there, and that possibility is there with the new media, which means all media formats can reside next to each other, and that's the strength of new media, which means it's not just like the print words, but like while you are reading something, and if you want to listen to maybe like audio, you are able to do that, or if you want to watch something, you are in a position to do that. So this is what he is actually talking about. So another is like web pages are usually a form of printed text nowadays, and contained in these web pages are digital images, moving images. Printed media blends into other media. Visual media is not isolated in its delivery system of just television and film exhibition. This confluence of media forms is what he described as new in new media. So what he's saying that the new in new media is the convergence, the confluence, wherein all media formats, they are residing next to each other. This is how he is explaining new media. Another, the definition and description of new media is by Socha and Barbara, and they said that the new media, and this is what a lot of people say, that it's a 21st century catch-call term or a buzzword which used to define all that is related to the internet and the interplay between technology, images and sound. In fact, when we are talking about new media, and there is a website which is called newmedia.org, and they have said that the definition of new media changes daily and will continue to do so. And new media evolves and morphs continuously. What it will be tomorrow is virtually unpredictable for most of us, but we do know that it will continue to evolve in fast and furious ways. And this is what is being said. And those who are in favor of this particular term to describe the kind of medium which we are talking about, they always say that it includes all sort of media formats as long as they are indeed evolving. So something which is evolving, something which is changing every day can fall into a category of new media. So what is the positive of this? The positive is that whatever the new technology comes in, what are the new applications appears because of these new technologies that can fall into this definition of a new medium. But as I said before, there are a lot of people who are not using this term because they have this issue with the new term in the new media. But for our lectures, we'll be using this term, and for us, new media means new ways of packaging of content, new ways of delivery of content. Anything which is evolving, anything which is growing falls into a category of new media. So this is about the definition of new media. Now we'll be talking about the power of new media, what it has done in the past, what changes can be brought about because of this particular medium. So there are few case studies which I'll be sharing with you that will show you the power and impact of new media on countries, on societies, on people. So that is something which we are going to talk about. This is like one example, and after this had happened in a number of countries and during different disasters. So this is like about the Chennai floods, and this was the time when some of the young techies they developed websites when there were floods in Chennai. And in that particular website, what they did, that they had the name and the phone numbers of the people who were ready to help. So it was an easy resource available for the people at that point of time. So if anybody wanted to have the help of a doctor, they were able to reach out to those particular people. So the entire website was created at the time of that disaster, and it actually helped people to reach out to the needy people. So this is something which was done in our country. And again, as I always say, when we are talking about the new technology, when we are talking about new media, I think the young people take a lead in that. And in this case also, it was something started by young people. Another example of this is of quake map. This is something which happened in Nepal, when the earthquake came in Nepal. Again, in this case, there was this one full website which was created by young techies, and on that website, they have mentioned and they have color coded the places where in different types of intervention was required. So for example, wherein the places where the people were still buried under the debris, that was marked as red. So the entire map was created, and based on the type of intervention required at that particular place, that map was created. And in this case, what happened was that people actually reached out if they wanted the help related to shelter, food, so that map actually helped them. Another case is of Egypt uprising. Many of us might be aware of this particular the case which had happened and during Arab Spring. And in this case, what happened that uh, at that point of time there was a boy, his name was Khalid Said, and this boy actually took certain photograph of police official, and they were confiscated, they were sharing drugs which they had confiscated from somewhere. And he put out that particular photograph on internet, and when he did that, the police got to know, and he was taken into custody. when the parents of and the relatives of this particular boy approached him, after some time, and the police said the response which came from police side was that he was a drug addict and he swallowed a pack of marijuana, he choked and he died. That was the response which came from the police. And but when people saw his body, I mean, they said that this death didn't happen because he swallowed something. This happened because he was beaten to death. And at that point of time, this particular page was created, and this page actually became a site for people to decide what kind of protest they are going to have. And the impact of this was that and of course, like the other YouTube channels and other social media post and social media platforms, that it has actually the government had to change at that point of time.